Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Dr. Lena Mass-Cresnik, Chief Data Officer at Moelis, to discuss navigating the acceleration of generative AI in financial services. Lena, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Great to be here.
And of course, generative AI, it's changing the way we all work, the way we will work in the future. How should executives, managers, and broader employees think about generative AI applications?
I think the easiest way to distill it is really around business intelligence augmentation. So we know that in tech bubbles and tech opportunities in the past around that type of revolutionary tech that we're seeing in this paradigm shift today with this transformational generative AI toolkit is that it's really going to supplement the way we work, increase productivity, increase efficiencies, and really improve how we think about cost reductions as well as other competitive advantages as a business.
How could companies consider ROI for using generative AI goals?
I think first and foremost, it's very much about business outcomes. So the way I think about the strategy as we talk to various organizations and some of the advisory capacities that I've been serving on, it's really thinking through what are those business outcomes and the underlying business use cases that are relevant for your business, as opposed to trying to retrofit the tech for a potential solution.
So when we think about financial services and the fintech business, what are some business use cases using generative AI?
Absolutely. So today we're already seeing the traditional AI transform into leveraging GAI tools, plugins. Obviously, we have a variety of LLMs or large language models that are being used today. Some of the larger tech players make those offer essentially in terms of how you can think about plugging into more credible or trusted models. Some of the key specific use cases that we see that are very pervasive are really around customization at scale. So think about any of your banking interactions around virtual chatbots or any type of virtual assistants. That's just going to become more increasingly pervasive, but customized at scale for the masses across a variety of industries now. Another big one around financial services is algorithmic trading. So leveraging the power of GAI to actually look at forecasting models. And I think an interesting kind of subset there is actually thinking about scenario planning. So you and I both know in this current market, we can't actually predict really what's going to happen. We're all literally waiting for the Fed to give us a sense of what's happening next. But what we can do is be prepared from a risk management and mitigation perspective. So thinking about scenario planning, how can you leverage GAI tools in forecasting or even nowcasting to predict potential future outcomes and then be prepared for those for your clients, for your company, and your strategy.
It's interesting if some of the banks that recently failed, if they were to use those risk management tools, if that could have potentially changed the outcome, because these model very differently than a human can.
Absolutely, and I think what we're starting to hear a lot more chatter about, especially from the academic realm as it relates to GAI, is this combination of large language models also with knowledge graphs. So large language models do great at taking this corpus of data and all of this information we have from the web that it's trained on over time to give us, in human language search, an output or a solution to what our question or prompt is. And as we know, prompt engineering is very important with tools like ChatGPT. The combination with a knowledge graph, for example, is where you map that out around a subject matter area of expertise. So let's say you're in the financial services industry, you can map that large language model capability with a knowledge graph or taxonomy around your specific solution set or what it is you're targeting for a client objective, and be able to marry those together to create more optimized and competitive edge solutions going forward.
How does one execute on their GAI strategy when there's different entrants, all these new entrants are coming in, it seems daily?
Absolutely. I think some of the key competitive advantages are really thinking about, again, back to those business use cases. So as you, as an organization, think through what is it you're trying to achieve for your client, for your end customer, what are some of the potential areas that can be optimized leveraging GAI tools, but starting with cross-functional assessment of your organization, everything from IT to HR to financial and finance-based business use cases, as well as your core competencies, right? In the case of a bank, right, thinking through customer integration, fraud detection, risk mitigation, customer credit checks and reference checking. How can we leverage more data to be able to do that with the tools that you have available? And then identifying which vendors and partners you have around that to be able to marry with your business use cases.
I mean, it does have to be challenging for boards and executive leadership. I mean, a few years ago, you have to have blockchain if you want to be successful.
Right.
You have to scale when it comes to data. You have to start thinking about quantum computing. Now you have to have AI in your strategy. And then, of course, you have to marry all this with cybersecurity and protecting your layers and layers and layers of networks. So it does make it challenging for senior leadership to figure out which strategy is going to work best.
Absolutely, and one of the areas that we've been talking about a lot lately is what makes, in terms of that skill development, that talent, the people dimension, how do we think about that? What types of jobs are going to come online versus come offline? And so we're seeing everything from, you could develop a website with GAI tools within minutes, but the future roles of things around leadership and strategy development are actually in that translational role, right? This kind of interstitial domain between the technical and what your strategy is, and how do you kind of interpret that for people so that you can identify a clear strategy and then importantly execute on it.
All right, Lena, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.